Hey everyone, it's Mr. Fink here. Just doing a PowerPoint grammar video on parts of a sentence. Now it sounds like easy stuff, sounds like stuff you should probably know about already, but depending on your level of comfort with this, it may be review and it may not be review at the same time. So stick with me. All right, so obviously the two main things we're talking about are subjects and verbs. It's kind of the building blocks of our English language. So when you're asking about a subject, you're really asking, what is the sentence about? And when you're asking about a verb, you're asking about the action word. So I have an example for you there, and it's she enjoys baking brownies. Now, right off the bat, I would say about 3/4 of you, if I asked you what the verb was in that sentence, 3/4 of you would say it's the word baking. But in fact, it is not baking. It's actually the word enjoys. Now, how do I know that? Well, there's a little technique that I have come to sort of learn and know, and I call it the time change method. All right, and the way you can find the verb using the time change method is pretty easy. And the one good thing I want to just make sure that you're very clear on is that it always works. You can't say that a lot about very many things in the English language, is that they always work, but this one does. So what you do is you take your sentence, she enjoys baking brownies, and you put one of these three words in front of it. Those three words are yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So what you're doing is you're shifting the time. Okay, yesterday is obviously putting that sentence in the past, today is putting that sentence in the present, and tomorrow is putting that sentence into the future. Now, because you are all fluent English language speakers, what you will do naturally is you'll change the verb to fit the time that you're changing the time into. So let's go back to this sentence from before. She enjoys baking brownies. So remember, those three words are yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yesterday, she enjoyed baking brownies. Today, she enjoys baking brownies. Nothing changes because it's already in the present. Tomorrow, she will enjoy baking brownies. Notice that baking never changes when I do that. Enjoys, though, changes. So that's how I know it's our verb. So remember, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's kind of our three words we need to remember. All right, well, let's do another example. If I have the sentence, Steve ate a pizza. I have yesterday, Steve ate a pizza. Today, Steve eats a pizza. Tomorrow, Steve will eat a pizza. Tomorrow, Steve will have a stomachache. But that was pretty easy. I think you could have figured out the verb in that because obviously the verb is not Steve, the verb's not a, and the verb's not pizza. So it's kind of by process of elimination. It's the word eats or ate or will eat. Okay, now those are pretty easy. But like I said, as the sentences get a little harder, this method will work every time, regardless. And even if you have what's called a compound sentence, it will work. And we'll get to those a little bit later. All right, so what I want you to do is there are two sentences written on the slide here. What I want you to do is when I'm finished, pause this video, either type or write out three sentences and use those three words at the beginning of each one of those. So you're either going to choose Jill buys a new pair of shoes or my brother Charlie got a flat tire. Either one works. And I want you to just write those three down and then change the verb based on the word that you chose for the time change. All right, so pause this video and do that right now. All right, so you've done that. You can see that, again, pretty easy with regards to those because, those sentences were rather easy. Now, we have some weird examples, and those weird examples are going to look a lot like the sentence, she enjoys baking brownies. So weird example number one, Jackie loves playing volleyball. Like I said, same sort of structure as, she enjoys baking brownies, just different things, but same four words in the same four places. Okay. Jackie loves playing volleyball. If I put that in the past tense and I said yesterday, Jackie loved playing volleyball. Once again, loves or loved changes, but playing does not. So that's our verb. Whoops, too many there. Susan enjoys jogging in the park. Same thing. If I say tomorrow, Susan will enjoy jogging in the park, then we know that our verb is enjoys. That sentence that came on before, Mark wants to win a trophy. We have, yesterday, Mark wanted to win a trophy, or tomorrow, Mark will want to win a trophy. So once again, the word want is the one that changes, or wants. It's not to win. So don't be thrown off by those. Now, let's move on to subjects. Okay, so we have our verb pretty down pat. We're going to use the time change method to find the verb. For the subjects, you're going to ask yourself, who or what performed the verb? Who or what performed the verb? So we have 4 examples right there. Mr. Fink grew an awesome beard. Kate and Holly swim at the YMCA. Kelly washed the dishes and Mike dried them. And after he mowed the lawn, Tommy took a shower and then he watched TV. What I'd like you to do is, for those 4 sentences, I'd like you to write those out or type them out. And I would like you to identify the verb first. And you can do that. If you're typing it, you can maybe bold it, or maybe you can underline it. And then I would like you to identify the subject by asking yourself who or what performed that verb. And I want you to do that for each one of those 4 sentences that are there. Now, please be careful when you get to the second example or the third example or the fourth example, because the second example is what it's called a compound subject. The third example is what's called a compound sentence. And the fourth example just has multiple subjects and multiple verbs. Doesn't matter though. The same things, the same rules should work and should apply. So write those out, identify all the subjects and the verbs in those sentences for me. All right, so if you are back here after doing that, what you should have very easily found out in the first one is that our verb in that sentence for the first example is grew. And our subject, who is doing the growing, is Mr. Fink. Mr. Fink grew an awesome beard. In sentence number 2, like I mentioned before you paused the video, it is a compound subject. So we have swim is our verb, and our compound subject, we're asking who is swimming. Well, Kate is swimming, and so is Holly. So both of them are our subject. In example number 3, like I said, this is called a compound sentence. So we could have very easily had 2 separate sentences, but they would be pretty short. And because they're related, what we do is we push them together, we use a comma, and we use the conjunction and. So we have Kelly washed the dishes. So let's just worry about that part of the sentence. Washed would be our verb, and who is doing the washing? That's Kelly. And then we have our second part of the sentence. Mike dried them. Dried is our verb, and Mike is our subject. And finally, in our last example, we have multiple subjects with multiple verbs. So let's go through each one. We have our verbs would be mowed, took, and watched. And then there's either a noun or a pronoun that goes along with that for the subject. He mowed, Tommy took, he watched. Now, these again, not that hard. And as you saw in each one of these, they go subject followed by verb right away, one right after the other. Mr. Fink grew. Kate and Holly swim. Kelly washed. Mike dried, etc., etc. That's not always the case. Not always the case. But for these, it is the case. All right, so some rules to remember when you're talking about subjects. So number 1 is, I already mentioned this a few seconds ago, is that they have to be nouns or pronouns. And I wrote there, do you know what these are? So for pronouns, we're talking about words like he, she, it, they, we, us. It's words that are in place of other nouns. And the other rule that I want to make sure that you understand is that you're only going to underline one word for the subject. Only underline one word. Okay, so these are a little bit trickier But I want you to do the same thing. I want you to pause this video, and I want you to write down those 3 sentences that are there and identify the subject and the verb in each one of those sentences. And you can do that right now. All right. So we'll go through each one of these. We have, my brother is a scuba instructor. Okay. Now, this one does not have an action verb, but again, if we do our time change, doesn't matter. Okay. If we change it to yesterday, we would say, yesterday, my brother was a scuba instructor. So we know what our verb is, and that's the word is. And our subject that goes along with is brother. Don't include my. Just try to include, like that second rule says, one word. So we're going to stick with brother. In sentence number 2, once again, our verb is, and people have a little trouble with this sometimes. So we have, Jessica's room is messy. Okay, well, what is messy? Well, is it Jessica's or is it room? Well, the room is the messy thing. Jessica's is showing possession. Now, Jessica probably is messy, but in this sentence, the subject that goes with is room. So again, try to stick to that one word. The only exception to this, and I probably screwed you up a little bit, is when you have someone's name. If you have someone's name like Dr. Martin Luther King, you can include all of that as the subject. You can just say King, but you can also, if you want to, include a first, in this case, a middle, a title. All of that can be included. If you just want to put King, you can do that as well. But in this sentence, Dr. Martin Luther King would be our subject and gave would be our verb. All right. On our last slide here, don't get fooled again. Okay, so let's circle all the way back around to the beginning. Okay, these are a little bit trickier. First example, my favorite ride at Disney World is Splash Mountain. Example number 2, dancing is fun. Example number 3, cleaning the bathroom is disgusting. So I'd like you to do this once again, is write down those 3 sentences, identify the verb, and then identify the subject that goes along with that verb. And I'm not going to give you the answers right now. That is something that we will get revealed whenever we go over this in class. Please feel free to go back, watch this video, replay any part that you need to, and I will talk to you guys again soon.